right. And Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, you guys covered a lot there. I do view our role in our agency as handing off a marketing qualified lead. And that's what we try to do. We don't get too involved we don't get involved at all in the sales process, but we are aware of whether phone calls get picked up or not, because that's a yellow flag, at least to me, if everything's going to an answering machine. And we get call transcripts for most of our clients, so we know how they're answered. So that's definitely a thing. We try to discuss the sales process, or bring the sales process up during our own sales process to find out how they handle leads. If you're a one person, one truck type of business, it's going to be harder for you to pick up the phone. That's something that you want to address right up front. And I've had a situation where we were working with a small roofing contractor. Everything was going to voicemail. I called him and said, Daniel, you got to pick up your phone. And that transformed his business essentially, because all of a sudden he started closing deals. Problem is that people, yeah, can you imagine that? And in my own experience, just following up often gets me the deal, because they're like, well, I reached out to 3 agencies. Those other 2 didn't talk to me. One thing I had recently with a client is, well, when I get a form fill that includes a phone number, I email them back because they're shy. They don't want to call somebody. They don't want to interrupt their day. I'm like, call that person, because they're probably online looking at the next potential service provider right now. And if they call before you call, not everyone's checking their email or responding. I would send an email and I would call. That sort of thing. So we advise, but we don't become too involved in the sales process. What we'd like to have is get a feedback loop from the client on the quality of the leads, which is not always 100% accurate, because anyone that knows sales and marketing knows that sales always says their leads suck. The lead quality is weak. That's just a thing between sales and marketing. Sales wants them, marketing to hand them, a silver platter with everything but the check signed on it. So there's always some, but we like to get feedback to find out about the quality of the leads to make sure that we're on track there. Does that make sense? The other thing that we do sometimes on the upfront, we do a strategy with the client before they even get into Google Ads, because we found out people were asking us, what should my budget be? Well, off the top of my head, that's an impossible thing for me to answer. There's a lot of factors there. Do you want to own the whole market? What's your competition? What is the local competition? I know what it is in general. So we go through a process sometimes that we call Google Ads strategy planning, GASP, to try to figure out upfront what's going to make them successful when they launch. Do they have an offer? And the reason I mentioned that as part of sales is because it gives you a sense of where the company's head is at in terms of their own knowledge of their own market. Because lots of times people don't know the market they're in their own space. Does that make sense? Like, they don't even know who the competitors are, what their offers are, who they're really up against in their own market space. So it makes it harder to launch a successful campaign, because you launch the campaign and then you're trying to backfill the offer and backfill, against the competition and things.
Yep. I'm there. I'm with you.